Welcome everyone to the Isle of Vampire Mermadia Part 2. As we left off, Ciel and Krish were in Ciel's house talking. Now they did this for several hours before there came a knock at the door. Ciel went to answer it because, of course, she has that thing she thinks making people wait is a crime. There were several fishermen at her door with pitchforks and torches. The man at the head of the group looked at her and said in a harsh voice, "Where is that man that you saved from the lake that day so many months ago? We saw him come back here. We saw him go into your hut. All the fish of the lake are gone. We've been fishing for so many days now, and there is nothing left. It is his fault that the lake is angry with us. It's his fault." Ciel stood there silently several moments before she finally let the words sink in. "It can't be. It's been months since I saved him. If the spirits were angry, why wouldn't they just have stopped the fish earlier?" "Because they're angry of him being back," said a man near the back of the group. Ciel looked back at Krish, who had by then come up behind her. Now, men. No need to get ugly. I will leave. Just go about your business." Ciel shook her head. "You don't have to. This is nonsense." Krish shook his head. "It's all right, dear. It's fine." Ciel shook her head, but let Krish go. He walked to the dock, and before Ciel's eyes, she saw a boat appear out of nowhere. It seemed to be lined in gold. It was large and looked to be a pirate ship. It had a Jolly Roger hanging from its highest mast, but instead of a skull and crossbones, it was the head of a mermaid, and two swords crossing it. As he got on and disappeared, Ciel went to bed. That night, her memories floated around her head of that day, and she drifted in and out of bliss. For days, months, and years, Krish visited Ciel, and they talked and talked. With each time, they grew more in love, until finally, Krish asked her to marry him. Because of the villagers' superstitions, they knew that the priest in the village would not do it. But Krish himself was friends with a monk that also lived in the church. The monk agreed to marry them, and soon they were happily wed. For many more months, they lived in happiness, until Ciel realized that she was pregnant. She was happy. She'd always wanted a child, but Krish was freaking out. He kept saying how it couldn't be, that it was a terrible thing. But Ciel simply smiled and said that everything would be fine. When the time came for her to have her baby, a midwife from the village reluctantly agreed to help. She sat in and waited through the 14 hours it took for the baby to come out. Then, at the end, the midwife gave the tired Ciel the baby, and the midwife ran, screaming, out the door. Ciel couldn't see what the problem was. It was a baby boy, and it was healthy and happy. But Krish could see it. He was not blinded with motherly love. The baby had gills, webbed hands and feet. His eyes were a color so blue that only the clearest of waters could produce it. And he had jet black hair. "I'm sorry, my dear," Krish said. "I'm so sorry." "Why? The baby's happy and healthy. Look, he's smiling." As she looked down, the baby smiled, showing off a row of shark-like teeth. But it was not a malicious smile, but a happy smile. As Ciel and Krish stood there looking at the child, a bang came at her door. Krish ran to the window and looked out, just in time to see a mob forming, pitchforks and torches, led by the midwife. "I'm so sorry. We must go." "Oh, sweetie, can't wait till later. I'm so tired. They're going to kill the child." This brought Ciel onto her feet. Krish grabbed a handmade baby carriage, some blankets, and some pillows for the baby, and then grabbed Ciel, who had the baby in her arms, and rushed her out the back door. They ran to a nearby dock. By that time, they looked back, and Ciel's house was in flames. Sorry guys, that's all the time I have for tonight. I will see you for part 3 later. Good night.